The Boston Celtics just made a statement in a fourth quarter comeback win as they grabbed the 2-0 series lead over the Brooklyn Nets, and this one from top to bottom was a complete effort by the Celtics, led by the defense that has them holding all of the confidence in the world heading into Game 3 in Brooklyn. This one didn't start the way Boston had hoped, trailing 3.5 quarters of this game, but it was the resilience and patience that we've seen from this group that makes them stand out as contenders in the playoffs, as they never backed down from being down all game, and their defense kept them in striking distance until the fourth quarter came around and their offense started to click. We saw the exact same thing in Game 1 of this series in the dying seconds of that game as Brooklyn was leading, and Boston, still with the clock ticking, kept their composure and got Tatum that buzzer-beating open layup that won them the game. This patience is going to take this team far in the playoffs, and it shows just how much of an impact Ime Udoka is having on this group of guys, because as everyone knows, Kyrie and KD are two of the greatest and most skilled scorers the NBA has ever seen, and although Kyrie put up a masterclass of a performance in Game 1, they were still able to pull off that win and have practically shut down Kevin Durant thus far in the first two games. Also, only a small percentage of people who watch my videos are actually subscribed, so if you end up liking this video, consider subscribing. It's free and it helps me out a ton. This defense is continuing to prove that it's absolutely lethal, carrying over from the regular season into the playoffs, and it most certainly helps the fact that they have the Defensive Player of the Year on their side, but it's the entire defense as a whole is what makes this team so special, and they've been able to execute without one of their best defensive players in Robert Williams, so their full potential is still yet to be reached. They've been able to throw Durant off of his game, something that most people thought was impossible with his picture-perfect NBA build, as they have devoted a game plan to throwing as many bodies as they can at him, and so far it's been working to perfection. The Celtics have the perfect personnel in order to achieve making Durant uncomfortable, and as the game has become much more physical in the postseason, they've devoted their entire game plan to do whatever it takes to take him out of his rhythm, and so far this has forced him to shoot 9 for 24 in Game 1 and 4 for 17 in Game 2, where he shot 0 for 10 in the second half of last night's game. Tatum is playing really well whenever he's singularly guarding Durant. However, what makes this level of play sustainable and how they've been able to do it practically all year is the fact that this team as a whole is playing strong on that end, and last night we saw the exact same thing, and it's this type of play that we would continue to see throughout however far they make it in the playoffs, as they are showing the consistency on the defensive end that will be there practically every single night. When it mattered the most, Boston had displayed the best defense they played all game long in the fourth quarter, holding the Nets to score just 17 points as they shot 26.3% from the field, as this was the turning point in the game, because on top of this defense, the Celtics offense finally came alive in the clutch, which saw them collectively shoot 64.7% in the fourth quarter alone, and this allowed them to claw their way back into this game, outscoring Brooklyn by 12 in the final period. Tatum, after a slow start, and Brown carried over the production from Game 1 into Game 2 as they led the charge in the fourth when the Celtics were surging for the comeback. They both combined to score 17 of their 41 points while shooting 66.7% from the field in the final frame. Once again, they were far more than just scoring options in this game, as they also combined for 16 assists, where 10 of them came from Tatum. The great performances on that end didn't stop there, with this win being a complete team effort, as Al Horford displayed another magnificent effort in this series and has been a crucial part to their success so far, having a stellar overall stat line of 20 points, 15 rebounds, while shooting 8 for 13 from the field in Game 1, and in Game 2, he played a huge role in generating that comeback, impacting the game everywhere from his passing, his scoring, to leading the charge on the fast break, to even his efforts getting back on defense, as the 35-year-old did a fantastic job contributing to this win and has continued to prove that he and Marcus Smart are the heart and soul of the squad. Peyton Pritchard is also another guy that played a crucial role in this comeback after hardly playing in Game 1 of this series. Pritchard was directly responsible for 6 of Boston's first 9 points in the fourth, which was the series that gave them the lead, and from that moment on, they were able to hold on to it with Peyton's extraordinary play. He had a steady shooting stroke, swift handles, he displayed all-out hustle during the final stretch, which simply dazzled everybody in the crowd at TD Garden, and he visibly shifted the mindset of Boston from being a team looking to claw their way back into the contest to one that was confident that they could pull off the W. During his time on the court, Pritchard put up 10 points, 4 boards, and an assist on an incredibly efficient 71% shooting from the floor, while registering the best plus-minus rating of the entire game at plus 15. Grant Williams came off the bench and was perfect from beyond the arc. Tice had a very efficient game filling in for Robert Williams as a starter again, and all in all, like I've mentioned all video, the Celtics simply displayed an all-out team effort in this one, and they prevailed as the winners because of it. I don't expect the Celtics to continue to hold Durant to these kinds of numbers for the entirety of the series because he's just way too good for that to be possible, but if you were to drop what you would want thus far from the C's, obviously being up 2-0 is what you would hope for, but it's been the way that they've been able to come away with these wins that has created this momentum for these guys that anything is possible for them, and they will most certainly take this with them far in the playoffs, especially if they're able to close out this series. Holding Durant to the numbers he's had, and it's showing that he hasn't been able to impact the game like we're used to, has to only give you the utmost amount of confidence to continue playing like this. And lucky enough for them, the type of basketball they're playing right now is very much sustainable, and what I mean by this is the fact that they're winning by playing like they have for the second half of the season. The wins haven't come from Tatum playing like a top 3 player in this league and having him have godlike games where he drops something absurd like 49 points, shooting above 60% from the field, carrying the entire team on his back. The wins have come from the Celtics, 1, playing as a team, and 2, playing very sound defensively. These efforts can most certainly be improved upon as well, as like I mentioned, it hasn't had to come from Tatum being this unearth-like, unguardable player, but the thing is, he can get to that point in the playoffs, and with how the Celtics have played collectively, if Tatum and even Jaylen Brown can obtain an even higher level of play for the Celtics, they will, in my books, be the favorites to come out of the East, especially considering Robert Williams is set to return soon, and he plays such a crucial role as the starting center, especially how much he elevates this team defensively, roaming around in the paint. This next game against the Nets is going to be the biggest one of the series because if they win, they will take the series no doubt, as it's going to be nearly impossible for the Nets to win 4 straight games against them after being down 3-0. But if the Nets were to take Game 3 at home, in which they're currently favored to do so, Ben Simmons is projected to return in Game 4, and this could seriously alter the way this series would be played out, simply just based off of the defensive impact he brings to the floor. And I honestly don't want to hear any slander regarding that, as he's one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, so the Celtics need to win Game 3, but even then, with all of the momentum they've generated, I think they'll still be fine if they lose a game or 2 here and there. And if the Celtics do wind up coming away with this series, the talk of them being able to continue to move on in the playoffs would only continue to ramp up, as honestly, yes, the Nets were a 7th seed this season, but this is arguably the hardest matchup they would have to have this playoffs, simply because of the offensive superstars they have in KD and Kyrie, and they've already shown their ability to match up with those two defensively, so honestly, the world is their oyster in terms of their potential. In the next round, they would play the winners of the Bulls and Bucks series, depending on who that may be, but then again, as hard as it is to guard Giannis, the Celtics have a rather perfect personnel to limit his strengths, especially considering that there's a good chance Williams would be available to shut him down inside the paint. With all that being said, the Celtics are playing some of the best basketball thus far in the playoffs as a team, and they're doing it against one of the teams that are projected to win it all this year. All signs are pointing in the direction that this was not just a regular season team, and they are here to make a run in the playoffs, and I'm all for seeing this team prevail, as they definitely deserve the success they've achieved this season. As always, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you all have a great night.